Hey everyone, let's dive right in. We're all just bombarded with health advice these days, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's exhausting trying to keep up. You know what I mean?
it really is.
So today we're cutting through the noise to uncover the real gems in Achieve Optimal Health and Wellness, your guide.
Yeah.
Get ready for some seriously actionable insights to help you feel your absolute best.
Yeah,
Because who doesn't want that?
exactly.
So what's immediately striking about this guide, and I don't know about you, but this is something I noticed right away, is how it goes beyond simply avoiding illness.
Mm-hmm.
It's about truly experiencing well-being,
Yeah.
physically, emotionally, mentally, the whole package.
I think what's so refreshing about this guide is how it really focuses on that holistic well-being.
Yes.
You're right. It's not just about like, oh, if I'm not sick, I'm good. It's about, feeling your best in every aspect.
Exactly. It's not just about dodging a cold. It's about feeling truly alive and vibrant.
Exactly.
The guide calls this a holistic approach, right?
Yes.
And I, for one,
It emphasizes the interconnectedness of all of these areas,
yes,
which I think, again, is so important because so many approaches treat them as very separate entities,
that's so true.
when really they're all so connected.
They are.
You can't have one without the other.
It's like trying to bake a cake, but you only focus on the flour, and you
Uh,
totally forget the sugar and eggs. It's
Yeah.
just not going to come
That
together.
exactly. You need all the
You
ingredients
need all the
to
pieces.
make it work.
And speaking of pieces, the guide breaks down well-being into what it calls the Fantastic Four.
Yes.
And I am so intrigued. Tell me
Ah,
more.
yes. So the Fantastic Four are physical health, emotional well-being, mental health, and spiritual wellness.
Okay.
There you have it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I'll admit, those terms sometimes make me think of like intense meditation retreats and restrictive diets.
Right.
Is this guide about to tell me to live off kale smoothies?
I think sometimes when we hear those words, we can kind of go to that extreme place of like,
Yeah.
okay, I need to do all of these things perfectly and I need to restrict myself.
Yeah.
But what this guide does really well is it brings it back to this idea of self-awareness.
Okay.
And it's not about judgment. It recognizes that we're all at different stages in our wellness journeys.
Totally.
And so it really is about just bringing awareness to how are these four areas showing up in your life?
Okay.
And how can we maybe make small adjustments that will have a big impact?
I love that progress over perfection
Exact.
because I think that's something we can all get behind.
Absolutely.
So let's unpack some of those actionable insights. What really stood out to you when you were reading this guide?
I was really interested in the nutrition section. I thought it was really well done.
Good.
Because, I think we all kind of already know that processed food isn't ideal for us.
Right.
But this guide really dives into the profound impact that prioritizing fresh whole foods can have on your overall health and well-being.
Interesting.
And it goes beyond just saying, eat your fruits and vegetables. It talks about the increased energy you can experience, the improved mood, even a sharper mind.
Okay, that's got my attention.
Yeah.
It's easy to dismiss those benefits as like nice to have, But imagine feeling noticeably more energized and focused just by tweaking what you eat. That's powerful stuff.
It really is. It's amazing what food can do for us.
It really is.
And speaking of feeling fantastic, the guide doesn't stop at what we eat. It also dives into the power of movement.
Okay, hit me with those exercise insights. Did they mention the 150 minutes a week guideline?
They do mention the 150 minutes a week guideline,
Good.
which I know for some people, they hear that and they think, oh gosh, that's a lot.
Feels like a lot.
It can.
When you say it all at once.
But what's so refreshing about this guide is that it really emphasizes finding activities that you genuinely enjoy.
Yes.
It's about ditching the shoulds
I love that.
and discovering what makes you feel alive. So if you love to dance, go out dancing. If you love to go for a walk in nature, do that.
Yeah.
Find what works for you.
It doesn't have to be, going to the gym and lifting weights.
Exactly.
If that's not your thing.
Exactly. It can be anything that gets you moving.
That's huge. So many of us dread exercise because we picture those boring gym routines.
Mm-hmm.
But if you love dancing, hiking, or even just taking a walk in nature,
Yeah.
Those count. It's about moving your body in a way that brings you joy.
I love that. You said joy because that's what it should be.
Exactly.
It shouldn't feel like a chore.
It should be.
It should feel good.
Exactly.
So find what feels good for
I
you.
love it.
What else resonated with you?
Well, you mentioned it briefly, but, they also talk about stress management,
Yes.
which is something I think we could all use a little help with.
Yes.
What did the guide have to say about that?
One quote that really stopped me in my tracks was, "The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another."
Whoa.
I thought that was so powerful.
That is powerful
Yeah.
because it kind of implies that we have control.
Yeah,
We're not just victims of our circumstances. We have a choice in how we react,
exactly. And we have control over our thoughts and our
which
reactions.
is sometimes hard to remember.
Yes, it is. It's a practice.
It is.
And it's something that we have to cultivate.
So how do we do that? How do we cultivate that?
Well, the guide emphasizes mindfulness and meditation as tools for cultivating this mental control,
Okay.
which again, when we hear meditation, we might think, oh, I have to sit for an hour and clear my mind.
Right. No thoughts.
Exactly. But it's not about that at all.
Okay.
It's about incorporating small, manageable practices into your day.
Yeah.
Even just a few minutes of mindful breathing can make a difference.
Okay.
Just start small and build from there.
It's like building a muscle.
Exactly.
The more we practice, the stronger we become.
Absolutely. And the stronger we become at choosing those empowering thoughts over those stressful ones.
It's so important.
And speaking of mental workouts,
Yes.
the guide dives into the importance of mental stimulation as well.
Yeah. They talk about, learning new things, challenging your brain.
Yes. One fascinating detail that I noted was that there is actual research linking lifelong learning to longevity and happiness.
Really?
Yes. It seems that those who continually challenge their minds tend to live longer, healthier, and more fulfilling lives.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting?
It is interesting. It makes you think.
It does.
So it's like a workout for your brain.
Yes.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And just like physical exercise,
Yeah.
consistency is key.
Consistency is key.
That's good to know.
Yep.
But with all this talk about nutrition, exercise, mental stimulation, it can feel overwhelming. Like, where do we even begin?
You're absolutely right. It can feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
Well, that's where this guide, I think, really shines.
Okay.
Because it emphasizes those small, manageable steps, not those massive overhauls.
Okay.
So it's not about, quitting your job and going to live on a yoga retreat in Bali,
Right.
unless that's what you want to do.
Yeah, of course.
But it's about, really taking those baby steps
Okay.
and building sustainable habits one brick at a time.
That's a relief.
Mm.
I am all for aiming high, but sometimes we just need permission to start small
Yes, absolutely.
and to know that that's okay.
Yeah.
So speaking of small but impactful changes, what did the guide have to say about making those habits stick?
Yes.
Because we all know that Motivation Monday feeling can fade pretty quickly.
Oh, it definitely does. The
Yeah.
excitement of, a fresh start can quickly
Yeah.
fade away. But the guide really dives into the power of routines.
Okay.
And now, before you tune out thinking routines are boring, hear me out.
Okay.
Because a well-crafted routine isn't about restriction.
Yeah.
It's about creating a framework for success,
I like that.
especially when that willpower is running low.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
Uh,
Tell me more about how routines play into this holistic approach to well-being.
So think of it like this. Instead of making a million decisions each day about what to eat, when to exercise, or how to manage stress, a routine kind of predetermines those choices for you. So it removes the guesswork and makes those healthy choices automatic.
And there's a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because you're not constantly battling with yourself in the moment.
Exactly.
Like having a mental autopilot.
Yes.
For those moments when you're tired, stressed, just short on willpower.
Yes.
So do you have any examples of what these routines might look like in practice?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say your goal is to incorporate more movement into your day.
Wow.
Instead of, waiting for that motivation to strike to, put on your workout clothes and get out the door.
Right.
You could establish a routine where every morning starts with a brisk 20-minute walk, no excuses.
I love that.
Right?
It becomes a non-negotiable part of your day.
Yes.
Like brushing your teeth. You're not debating it, you're just doing it.
Mm.
And over time, it becomes second nature.
Exactly. And the guide emphasizes, these routines aren't meant to be rigid or restrictive.
Okay.
It's about finding what works for you and allowing those routines to evolve as your needs change.
That's reassuring. Because life happens.
Exactly.
Life throws curveballs.
It does. And our routines need to be flexible enough to accommodate them. So it's not about being perfect. It's about, making progress, finding what works.
Exactly. And another thing that I really appreciated about this section was the emphasis on self-care.
Yes.
because it's not a luxury.
It's so important.
It's a necessity for maintaining that optimal well-being.
I'm so glad you brought that up because there's often this misconception that self-care has to be these grand Instagram-worthy gestures.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I love a good spa day.
Oh, they're amazing. But they're not always realistic or accessible for everyone on a regular basis.
Exactly. And they're not always what we need in the moment.
That's true. Sometimes you just need an app.
Exactly. And that's what I love about this guide. It encourages us to really redefine self-care as those small, everyday acts that really nourish our minds, bodies, and souls.
So we're talking things like taking a few minutes to step outside and just enjoy the sunshine,
Yes.
reading a chapter of a captivating book, or even just, savoring a cup of tea in peace and quiet
Yes.
without scrolling through your phone.
Exactly. Tuning in to what makes you feel grounded and replenished
Yes.
and making time for those things, even amidst a busy schedule.
It's about being kind to yourself.
Yes.
Recognizing that your needs are going to vary from day to day and honoring those needs without judgment.
Love that. Without judgment.
Because sometimes self-care is a rigorous workout, and sometimes it's a giant slice of chocolate cake.
Yes, as long as it's coming from a place of genuine self-care and not self-sabotage.
That's a good distinction.
Balance is key.
Balance is key. I love it.
Yeah.
It's about finding that sweet spot
Yes.
between indulgence and discipline,
Yes.
between pushing yourself and giving yourself grace.
I love that.
Now, we've talked a lot about individual actions we can take, but the guide also touches on the importance of community, right?
It does. It does. Because we're social creatures by nature.
Yes, we are.
And, we're not meant to do this alone.
It's so true.
So the guide reminds us that connecting with those like-minded individuals, whether it's through a fitness class, a book club, or even just, having these meaningful conversations with friends and family can really provide that support and accountability.
Yeah.
And a sense of belonging.
Yes.
All of which are so crucial for that overall well-being.
There's something incredibly empowering about surrounding yourself with people who share your values and support your journey. It's like having a cheer squad
Yes.
for your well-being.
I love that. A cheer squad.
Right.
Yes.
Speaking of support, the guide also delves into the often overlooked topic of preventative care.
Yes, it does. And, it emphasizes that preventative care isn't just about, those annual checkups, although those are certainly important.
Of course.
But it's about really adopting that proactive approach to your health, both physically and mentally.
Okay. It's so easy to think, oh, yeah, I'll get around to scheduling that checkup eventually,
Right. It's easy to put it off.
Yeah, but this guide really drives home the importance of being proactive.
Mm-hmm.
Did it offer any, surprising insights in that area?
I think what I found so fascinating was this emphasis on really tuning into those subtle signals that our bodies and our minds are sending us.
Yeah.
Like those early warning signs that we often brush aside.
Which we all do.
We all do. We're all guilty of it.
Yeah.
Whether it's, oh, I'm just going to push through this headache or, I'm sure the stomach ache is nothing.
Right.
It's about really paying attention to those little changes in our energy levels, our sleep patterns, our mood, even our digestion.
Yeah, that's so true. We've become so accustomed to just pushing through, ignoring those whispers until they become shouts.
Exactly.
No, yeah.
And then it becomes a much bigger issue to deal with.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And this guide is encouraging a more mindful approach, right?
Yeah.
Almost like we need to become detectives
Yes.
of our own well-being.
Yes. Be curious about what's going on.
Yes.
Notice those sensations, those feelings, those changes.
Yeah.
And it's not about becoming hypervigilant or overly anxious.
Right.
It's not about that at all.
Okay.
It's just about cultivating that sense of I'm aware of what's going on in my body and my mind.
Okay.
And if something feels off,
Yeah.
maybe I need to, seek support.
And sometimes that support means reaching out to a healthcare professional, and sometimes it's just calling up a friend.
Exactly. Or, incorporating some stress-reducing activities into your routine.
Yes.
There are so many different ways that we can support ourselves.
That's a great point. Preventative care isn't just about those physical checkups.
Mm-hmm.
It's about tending to our mental and emotional well-being as well.
Yes, 100%.
And I love how this guide frames it as an act of self-respect,
Yes.
not just something we do out of obligation.
It's a gift to yourself.
It is.
It's an investment in your future self.
It's like that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yes.
We can't show up fully for our loved ones, our work, or even just for ourselves.
Yes.
If we're running on fumes.
That's such a good point.
This guide reminds us that prioritizing our well-being is essential,
It is.
not selfish.
It's not selfish at all. It's actually the opposite.
Yes.
It allows you to show up better in all areas of your life.
Okay, I love that. So as we're kind of approaching the end of our deep dive into Achieve Optimal Health and Wellness, your guide,
Yes.
I'm kind of struck by how much ground we've covered.
I know, it's a lot.
We explored the interconnectedness of physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being,
Mm.
uncovered actionable strategies for improving each of these areas,
Yes.
and emphasized the importance of building sustainable habits, practicing self-care, connecting with community, and prioritizing preventative care.
It's a holistic approach.
It is. It feels manageable, though.
It does.
Right?
It feels empowering.
It does. Like we've been given a roadmap, not just a to-do list.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of this guide, is that it's not about those rigid rules or a one-size-fits-all approach.
Okay.
It's about empowering you, the listener, to create a lifestyle that supports your unique needs and goals.
It's about figuring out what works for you.
Exactly.
I love that. So as we wrap up this deep dive, if there was one takeaway you could leave our listeners with, one that kind of encapsulates the essence of Achieve Optimal Health and Wellness, your guide,
That's a great question.
what would it be?
I think it would be this. If you could improve just one area of your well-being based on everything that we talked about today,
Okay.
what would have the most positive ripple effect on your life right now?
Ooh.
Let that question guide your next steps.
That is such a powerful question, and one that I hope our listeners will really ponder. Don't let this conversation end here. Head over to our social media pages and share your thoughts. What one step will you take towards optimal well-being? Until next time, be well, friends.